Good evening, friends and family. I hope that you are all doing well. Welcome to our program this evening. We will be interviewing a great friend of mine. His
Family, I hope that you are all doing
his
well.
name is Zvi Harpaz, and Zvi will be sharing with us about Israel and a new application that he has created that's very, very interesting. Also wanted to let you know, if you would, to subscribe below to our channel. We just began, and we're going to be offering lots of materials both in English and in Spanish. So I hope that you would subscribe and press the bell so that you would receive notifications. You know, there's lots of time still. If you would like to hear at the beginning of the program, let your friends know, your contacts, so that they can tune in, people that might be interested in following along with us. Also wanted to let you know that we have a tour of Israel planned for the 16th through the 26th of April. Now, the borders in Israel are not currently open, but we're hoping that by then we might be able to go. So if you're interested in going to Israel with us on that trip, leave a little comment below and we can send you some information regarding that tour. Also, something that's really dear to my heart, wanted you to know that I will be teaching a devotional commentary through the book of Matthew beginning on Monday, the 1st of February. And so this will be a daily online devotional here on YouTube on this channel. And so it will be in the mornings. Let me see, it will be at 10 a.m. Eastern Coast time. And for Central Coast, it will be at 9 in the morning. Mountain time, it will be at 8, and Pacific Coast, it will be at 7. So if you would like to join us, it would be like a 20-minute devotional each day, and probably extending on through most of this year. And so we would love to have you join us. What a wonderful way to start the day, studying the Bible together, getting close to the Lord. And we know that in these difficult times, this is especially what we need. So we invite you to join with us. And so at the end of our presentation today, we're going to have a time of questions and answers. So you can ask Zvi or you can ask me anything that you would like to concerning the theme today, Israel, and especially the application that Zvi will be sharing with us. So send us your questions and then we'll answer them one by one towards the end of the hour. And so again, I'm really so happy to have you. I know we have lots of people joining us and more now. And I would like to pray and ask the Lord's blessing upon this time, and then I'll introduce our guests. See, Lord, we thank you for this opportunity. We thank you for the technology that's available so that we can do wonderful things like this. I pray that you would be glorified this evening. I pray that you would bless Zvi and his family and the work that he is doing in Israel. May this be an edifying time for all of us. Lord, I ask this in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, the name of Jesus the Messiah, in his name, amen. Well, I want you to know that we have been able to use Zvi on several occasions on our trips to Israel. He is a wonderful tour guide. He loves his country. He has so much to share with us this evening. I have been blessed not only to know him on a professional level as a guide, but he has kind of adopted me into his family. They've taken me different places where nobody really goes in Israel, open air markets, and to see things behind the scenes. And so I've spent many weeks with Zvi in Israel, and he's just become a great friend and a blessing in my life. And we have the opportunity this evening to hear about his work, his plans, and to be a part of it too. So I hope that that this will be a blessing for you as well. Zvi, we welcome you to the program.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Could you see me well? I'm trying to, let me just light myself a little bit more. Just 1 second. All right, I hope that's better. Let me see, which part this is actually. All right, sorry about those bright lights in the background, but I kind of need this like that. All right, everybody, good morning to you. It's 3 a.m. Israel time, and nevertheless, I'm here, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, just to be with you. It is a great pleasure to be with you, and I thank you so very much for hosting me, John. It's actually very moving to see how everybody enlists in order to help me raise an amazing project. So thank you, and thank God, and thank all of you for coming and assisting with us today. John, do you want to ask me anything, or just lead me into something, or shall I just start by describing what, where, how? Take the lead if you want. Let me know what it is that you're thinking.
I'm so sorry, we had some feedback on my computer, but now we got it all resolved. How are you this evening?
I am well. I am delighted to be here.
Actually, it is Boker Tov. It is morning for you. I believe it's 3 a.m. Is that right?
I was just commenting to the people that it's 3:08 in the morning, and we're having lots of fun waking up before the roosters even.
It's winter there in Israel. Is it cold? Is it raining?
It's not raining currently. It is cold. It has been cold, and we've had a lot of precipitation in the last few days. In fact, if you were to look at Mount Hermon right now in the north, you could see that it's totally covered with snow.
Wonderful.
Enough to ski on it in normal times. Right now we are in sort of a last phase of the lockdown, so we're not skiing, but it's doable.
But at least you have the beauty of the mountain there, way in the north of Israel. I can see it in my mind. I wish I was there. Yes. So Zvi, I really want my friends, my family here to get to know you. Please tell me a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your family, your wife Mirav, and your children, and your lives.
Well, I'm 55 years old, born in Israel, and as a 10-year-old, I lived with my parents 2 years in Chile, 3 years in Guatemala, and 3 years in the US, in the East Coast, in Rockville, Maryland. And I graduated from high school and a year of university in the States prior to returning to Israel and doing my military service in the Air Force. Later on, I knew I wanted to do something interesting and exciting and not be locked down in one place. And so was accepted into law school, but then just prior to the school year starting 2 weeks before, I asked myself, now, what am I going to do as a lawyer? It is so boring, and the only interesting thing is criminal law, but then you're surrounded by undesirable individuals, and there's this many pages of lawyers in the yellow pages. Back then there was yellow pages, now it's all digital. And and I didn't know what to do, so I went to a career counselor and asked her, so what do you think I should do? And she said, well, what do you like to do? And I said, I don't know, I like to travel. She says, well, with your languages, why don't you go and become a guide? And I said to her, oh, you mean there is such a thing? And she pointed me in the right direction. I went and studied Studies of Israel, which is all that is required to become a guide. 3 years, very intensive. Once a week touring around the country, different sites. And the rest of the time studying all the relevant issues, be it geology, geography, didactics of guiding, flora, fauna, religions, history, art, you name it. It's very comprehensive studies. And I've been guiding now for 32 years. 32 years that I've been guiding Israel in Hebrew, English, Spanish, French, Portuguese, and Mandarin Chinese. And I've been doing it land and air. I am actually a helicopter pilot, and I also fly fixed wing, but helicopters are my passion. So I guide from the land and from the air. I do both large groups where I get on a bus, as well as smaller groups. I have a touring vehicle, and I do private tours. So my minimum is 1, my maximum is 1,000. I've tried to guide more than 1,000 at once. It's difficult. I've actually did, yes.
I'm sorry. Have you ever taken your guest in an airplane?
Yes, I've taken guests in airplanes, and I've taken a lot of guests in helicopters. I've done aerial tours. It's a really nice way to either summarize things up after we've traveled, show them places that we've been from a different angle. And I have taken people that were very short for time and wanted to do a lot. And it's one of the fun aspects of my job. Yeah.
Why did I not know about this before? I want you to take me up in the air next time, Zvi.
Okay. First of all, we have to leave. I want to be able to surprise you every time, not just, a couple of times that I've surprised you before. I want to be able to surprise you every time. I'm leaving some tidbits for next visits, maybe in April.
Okay.
We have a trip coming. We have a trip coming up in April, right?
That's right. April 16th through the 26th. So, boy, I'll be anticipating my helicopter flight. I've never been on one before.
Okay.
Zvi, you mentioned the several languages that you speak. How is it that you speak so many languages? We had you last week on our program, but it was all in Spanish for those in Latin America. And so you speak Spanish, you speak English, you speak Hebrew, Chinese, Mandarin, I guess.
Correct. I just noticed that Felice is watching, so I hope she doesn't come and test my Mandarin here. But basically, as I said, from the ages of 10 until the age of 18, I lived 2 years in the States, 2 years in Chile, 3 years in Guatemala, and 3 years in the States. So that's 8 years of English, Spanish, and I was 10 years old. So when I started in Chile, I studied in an American school and had to either learn to express myself or shut up, and I'm not the kind to shut up. So I just had to learn, and I learned. Then,
as you guys, I'm just amazed. You're standing there with us in line to see something, and all of a sudden you're speaking to somebody in Chinese, you're speaking to somebody in Portuguese and French, and you just amaze me, Zvi. You're an example to me. I want to learn all the languages that you know. I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that. So Hebrew, English, and Spanish, I sort of grew up with. Then through work, I learned French. Well, actually, I went skiing in France at a Club Med, and it frustrated me that I knew that I was understanding a lot of what was being said, but I couldn't speak. So I took a 6-week full immersion course in France, and after that just started guiding in French. And then years later, there were lots of Brazilians that started coming here, and there weren't enough Portuguese speakers, so they picked up Spanish speakers to guide them. And I guided them in Spanish, but heard them speaking Portuguese. And the moment I felt comfortable enough, I just opened my mouth in Portuguese. I did not actually go through the stage of Portuñol, which is like castrated Spanish, but straight into Portuguese. I'm sorry. And then I decided to learn Mandarin, and that was the slap on the face, because I figured, hey, I already speak 5 languages. What's the 6th one going to be like? And that's when I came and encountered a language that is totally different, nothing to do, unrelated, one that is tone-based, and struggled a lot with that. So Mandarin Chinese, I do guide in, but I only take individuals. I do not take a full group tour. It's way too high maintenance for me. It's just very demanding. So, but that's how it is, you know.
Yeah. With you know, you and I both know Felice, and she's a very demanding person. Yeah, that's true. Hey,
hey, she's here. Remember that.
I know. So let's talk a little bit about the country. I'm eager for people to hear, especially about the inventions that come from Israel, about the exporting that you do there. It's just amazing.
Okay, well, we are a small country, and we don't have too many natural resources. And the one thing that we were blessed with is the gray cells that we have in our heads. And Jews have always been, throughout history, persecuted, and have therefore had to always be inventive, innovative, and ingenious. And so we pretty much are self-sufficient when it comes to agriculture. It's one of the big things that we export. We export a lot of first and foremost is technology. Now, by far, is number one. And I'm sure everybody that is with us today is somehow using in their lives an Israeli invention, be it Waze in the car when you drive, be it Mobileye, which is again something that is now in all cars that helps you maintain distance from the other cars, and if somebody cuts you across or somebody walks across, it could actually stop the car by itself. It's a safety feature that is amazing. But then also cellular phones that were invented in Israel by Motorola years ago, and Intel is an Israeli-based company that makes the processors of computers. Windows is actually translated to Hebrew before it is translated to other languages, because it is done here. Israel is the only place where Microsoft has R&D facilities outside of the US. Drip irrigation. What's that?
The USB?
USB, yes. I actually guided the company that invented the USB, a guy called Dov Moran, and they later on sold onto SanDisk, but they are actually to this day in my hometown, Kfar Saba. That's where their headquarters in Israel are. And a lot of medical technology, the catheterization technology for opening up clogged veins and arteries, and all of the technology for voice over IP that we are using right now in order to be able to talk with you guys over the internet and see you guys over the internet. And drip irrigation, which my father was actually involved in as well, and that has revolutionized the world, and countless other things. We have cherry tomatoes, for example, are from Israel, and Jaffa oranges, and fruits and vegetables that you didn't really know, and genetic engineering on avocados so as to make the pit smaller and more of the fruit available. So countless things. Seriously, Israel is a tiny little country. We're smaller than New Jersey, almost 9.5 million people living over here, but it is amazing. We're right now #1 in the world in getting the vaccine. More than 30% of Israel has already been vaccinated over the past month, and we're getting close to 85% of the at-risk age populations, and going to be fully vaccinated when your tour comes over here, so you'll be able to do this.
That's what we're hoping. I know that Netanyahu mentioned that he wanted to have everyone vaccinated by Passover at the end of March. And so that's why we're hoping that the doors will be open so that we can go over there in April. And again, we extend the invitation to anyone who would like to go with us. It would be great. And Zvi, you mentioned to us that probably we won't need to be vaccinated because the population of Israel will be vaccinated. Probably what they'll require, though, is before we get on the airplane, proof of a negative COVID test, correct?
Yes. I mean, I cannot with full certainty say that that's how it's going to be, but chances are that you'll be required negative prior to boarding and another negative upon landing, and then you'll be able to travel and remain in capsules, maintaining the same driver and the same guide, and staying together, the entire group that we came. And the guide will have, probably they're talking about an app that will allow us to track everything that we've been doing, and so as to be able to be on top of things. But yeah, I mean, we want to open up the skies. I've been unemployed for 11 months. It is not easy. And the sources of income are getting, they're dwindling.
Right. We experienced that here in Peru. I know in the United States, worldwide, really, we've all been affected by this virus and the economy. And you have been especially hit as a tour guide. if no one can land in Israel, of course, there's no one to tour. And Zvi, I have been very interested in the project that you and your wife are working on. And it's exciting to be able to take tours from a remote location, just as if you were in Israel. And we don't know when, when tourism will pick up again in Israel, but you have created something that will help inspire tourism. Could you share with us about your new application?
Absolutely. So my wife, Meirav, and I, we've been married for 16 years. And during those 16 years that she's been a part of my life, she has stood by me in good and bad. And Israel is great. And when there's work, if I could divide myself into 10, all 10 of us would be working. But it's also located in the Middle East, and every little thing that happens over here immediately brings the tourism industry to its knees. People are afraid to come. People have a difficult times, and things stop. And she realized that we need to do something that generates passive income. But we have something amazing going for us, and that is that we're here in the Holy Land. And it is a place that is coveted by so many millions and billions of people that want to come here and never really will. Mm-hmm. And 2 years ago, I had a 79-year-old American woman that came. Not a woman of means. Her trip was actually financed by 2 businessmen, and they hired me to show her around. The first day we went to Jerusalem, and the next day we were supposed to go somewhere else. But she asked to go back to Jerusalem, and I said, yeah, we could do that, but you are going to miss out. She says, yeah, I know, but nevertheless, I have something very important that I need to do. And she asked me to pick her up the next morning, and I did, and she came very elegantly dressed, a 79-year-old woman, gray hair, and she asked to go to Mount of Olives. So we went to the top of Mount of Olives, viewing Jerusalem. There's the oldest Jewish cemetery in the world, active cemetery over there. And she asked if we could go into the cemetery, and she took out of her bag velvet covered wooden box. She opened it up, and in it there's a bag of her late husband, the ashes of her late husband that had passed away several months before. And she wanted to spread those ashes in the Jewish cemetery. And I filmed the whole thing, and it's very, very emotional. And as she's spreading the ashes around, she says, honey, all your life you dreamt of coming to Israel, and we could never afford to do it. But now you're finally here, and you're going to rest here forever. And I showed Meirav, my wife, this video in the evening, which is very moving, very emotional. But it made her understand that we need to do something to make this land accessible for so many millions of people. Mm-hmm. And we started toying with an idea of making things accessible. And 2 years into the journey, we've had something that is called COVID-19 with us for the past 11 months. And it not only showed us that the absolute need for what we're doing, it also emphasized the importance of doing it because post-COVID, tourism is not going to be the same, and people are still going to be afraid of traveling, and it's going to take some time, but it needs to be done. And so we are now developing an app for virtual tourism. It is called Tourmy App, Tourmeapp. And we started a crowdfunding campaign in order to do a pre-sale of memberships for the app, which will be launched in November. And the reason that we're actually doing crowdfunding is because of COVID. We had put aside a lot of money and hoped to develop this app. And then when COVID started, tourism industry came to a full stop. We went from 100 to 0 in an instant. And so we've had to eat all the money that we've set aside, but the idea is still alive and kicking. And so we want your help, your assistance in getting on the right track on producing this app, which will be filmed in 4K at least, very high quality audio and video. It will be multilingual. There will be 3 languages, English, Spanish, and Portuguese in the video, and subtitles in like 13 or 14 different other languages. And it is done at eye level, meaning that the camera is like the alternative to the tourist's eyes. The camera sees what the tourist would see. Very, very high definition. In fact, we did some tests and some beta shooting, and one could actually see that at some of the scenes I actually pick a jasmine from the plant and smell it, and it's as if you could actually see the smell in the video. That's how fine and high definition things are. And it's going to give people an opportunity, very much like Netflix, to choose what it is that they want to tour, with different highlights. Some people are going to be evangelical Christians, and some people are going to be Catholics, and some people are going to be Jewish, and some people are going to be interested in art, and some people are interested in archaeology. And you're going to have a menu and be able to choose either an individual tour or a full itinerary of following a group like sort of tour. It's fit for somebody that has been here and wants to relive his visit. It's fit for somebody that is planning on coming here and is using this in the planning stage. As an individual traveler, it is something that is awesome for somebody that will never actually be able to come here at an accessible price. Really, we're talking $35 for full year access to all of our library of content. It's going to be, by the time we launch, we're going to have at least 40 different tours. It'll cover up everything that one sees in a group tour, and it's going to be constantly updated. We're going to be having onto it special workshops about cooking Israeli food, or special workshops about doing something, visiting something unique in Israel, not just touristy things. And it's going to be constantly updated. We're going to get more and more content all the time. It's something that eventually can be replicated anywhere. I know that my wife and I, we were in Austria, in Vienna, a year and a month ago. And had I had something like I'm planning over there, it would have made life very, very easy. It's like having your own guide inside your phone, your tablet, just a guide in your pocket, we like to call it. And you could use it, and the uses of it are endless. So I would actually like to share with you, if I may, first of all, the contact of the app, all the different contact means, as well as am I sharing right now or not? I don't know. Yes.
There you
Looks
go.
like I'm sharing. Now let me see what it is that I'm sharing. Am I share? Are you seeing this, John?
Yes,
Okay,
with
so
the three.
are you seeing the lottery that we have? You seeing that page or not? I don't know what it is that I'm sharing. The Almighty Lottery, yes.
Says the Almighty Lottery. Yes.
The Almighty Lottery includes a trip to Israel. By the way, it's one of the prizes. That's the first prize. And so we have that, and then we have our mini site where we're doing the crowdfunding. So you can see it's going to be really high-techy, and we're going to have augmented reality in it and animations, and we really want to enhance the traveler's experience when they're here. So we're going to have an option for $10, $9.99. It's a 30 days trial subscription, which will give you an opportunity to travel virtually in 2 of our tours instead of 1, which we would normally allow, not for the crowdfunding campaign. And the second option we have over here, the $20, which will allow you 4 different interactive tours, but it also gives you a bonus of a personalized note on the Western Wall, which we put your wish in the Western Wall for you, and we send you the video of it being done, and that is direct contact with God over here, because from here it's a local call, so it's easy. And you can see some of the things that we'll be seeing along the way throughout our visit, and some of the sites that we have over here. This is always one of my favorite sites, Jerusalem, and from different angles, different sites. We have this is Old Jaffa, right next to Simon and Tanner's house, where Acts 10 took place. And a lot of the other places. This is the Baha'i Gardens in Haifa. Guys, we have an amazing country. This is sailing on the Sea of Galilee. Imagine that, sailing on the same body of water that Jesus did so many of his miracles. And here's me guiding the president of Honduras. Next one, I believe, this is the president of Guatemala, former president of Guatemala. And we're going to have, like I said, an interactive map inside the app. So you could either choose from the map or from the search options. We'll have live room where we could stream to and broadcast across the world many different events, workshops, and other events in real time. You'll have an online shop, sort of like a mini Amazon with unique things to Israel. It's geolocation powered by Google Maps. And there's augmented reality and animated features, and you could take a prearranged tour or schedule your own. And then we have another option that is only for the two more options. Like I said, we have the $35 version over here, which is full access to all our library of content. Guys, that comes out to less than 10 cents a day. For what you're getting, it's something amazing, really amazing. And you also get your personalized note in the Western Wall. Then the $75 option is our gold subscription. You get the access and the personalized note in the Western Wall, but you also get an olive branch from the Garden of Gethsemane sent over to you wherever you're at around the world. And again, it's authentic. I'll show you, that you'll be getting a video of me actually getting it from the Garden of Gethsemane. And last but not least, we have the VIP option, which gives you everything that we got before, but you also get the olive branch and some Christmas ornaments made out of olive wood from Bethlehem, as well as a private 1-hour tour with myself or with Boaz, which is a partner, friend, a colleague that we're doing this together with. And it could be either via Zoom or via the app itself. The launching of it is in November 2021. But I assure you guys that by the time that it's launched, you'll have seen many, many hours of content that we'll be providing to you. Until then, wanting to keep you interested and aware of what's going on, and we'll have a newsletter. And so here's our team. This is myself and my wife Meirav, and down below is Boaz Shalgi. And then there's story behind Tourmy App, which is what I told you about how we got inspired and so on. I'll give you the website, guys, so that you could actually browse through it. And I did a little boo-boo here. I'm messing around with the website. It'll be up and running in Portuguese in the next few days, as well as the English Spanish. And I noticed right now that I put the wrong file for the menu. So you're seeing the top menu right now in Spanish instead of English, but believe me, it's there. And we have for example here, which languages do you offer? So English, Spanish, Portuguese with the original audio, subtitles in French, Russian, Portuguese, English, Spanish, German, and more languages soon. Felice, we will have Chinese, Felice. Don't worry, we will have it. And you could watch it on any of the platforms, be it smartphone, tablet, or any Android or iOS device, smart TV, computer, on our website. Basically, we are very, very accommodating. We try to let you enjoy it at almost nothing. So feel free to ask any questions if anybody is interested. And please, also, at the very bottom of it, there's the subscription to our newsletter. We would love to have you, in addition to getting the product and helping us in the development, also put in your name over here, and would keep you updated on everything that is going on over here. One last thing that I want to show you is the contact information that we have over here. Here it is. And you can see that we have at the very top is our website. That's where we're doing the crowdfunding campaign. We have Facebook and Instagram and telephone and WhatsApp and Signal and smoke signals if you want to contact us, or Morse code, or even channeling. I mean, we'll accommodate any which way that you want to contact us, and we are here for you should you have any questions at any moment, at any time.
Zvi, this sounds amazing. I'm so excited about it. It would be, I see an application for people that are planning to go to Israel to kind of prepare them for their upcoming trip, for those who cannot travel for some reason. And this is just amazing. You know, the founder of Calvary Chapel, his name is Chuck Smith. He was the one who
I guided Chuck Smith and Chuck Smith Jr. from Costa Mesa many years back.
Yes. Well, you know, Chuck just gave us a love for the nation of Israel. And we look for every opportunity to go, and we want to bless. We pray for the nation. We support them in so many ways. And I see this as a way that we can be supportive of the nation of Israel, and specifically you and your family right now that you have no work. And
Correct.
so, you know, in the book of Genesis in chapter 12 and verse 3, it says, I will bless those who
bless her. Correct.
And this is what we're looking to do, is to, in some way, bless the Jewish people, bless the nation of Israel. And this is one of the reasons I wanted to let people know about you and to know about the program too, and so that we can pray about getting involved. And so I've already signed up, and I'm looking forward to my 1-hour tour with you on a helicopter. And that will be very, very soon. Zvi, we do have a couple of questions.
Fire away. I'm here for you.
I'd like to kind of set up this as, you know, we have a change in government in the United States, and we have a new presidential administration. And there are concerns that the relationship that we have had with Israel might change. And so my brother Steve sent us a question. And so Steve Bonner asked the question, do you or Zvi think that our great relationship with Israel will change since Donald Trump is no longer the great president of the United States?
Listen, there's no doubt that Trump has done lots of great things for Israel. And I think the relationship will change simply because under Trump, Israel was almost like, you know, the spoiled kid that got everything that it wanted. And on the other hand, Israel, throughout its modern history, has always been an ally and a great friend of the US. And I think every presidential candidate and every president understands that he needs to have Israel on his good side. And some more so than others, but you know, we have a bond between us that is at this point unbreakable. And people understand that if you have Israel on your side, exactly related to what you said, you also have God on your side. And so let's all pray for the peace of Jerusalem together. I mean, basically, it's a hand-in-hand joint venture, and we definitely want to maintain this brotherly connection. So I think everybody is planning to do so. Every marriage is different, but the reason for getting into the marriage are, for the most part, the same reasons, and love being the most. The love of the country, love of God, love of the people, love of the idea, love of the technology, love of everything. It's a give and take relationship. So I think we're going to still be walking hand in hand together for eternity.
Right. So the President Trump did so much good in the relationship with Israel, planting the United States Embassy in the city of Jerusalem, something that everyone promised to do. But the United States now recognizes, and so many other countries after that recognizes Jerusalem as the eternal capital of the nation of Israel. Just like in biblical times, and it was so necessary. Trump also recognized the Golan Heights as belonging to Israel as well. And everyone thought that the Arab world was going to go crazy, but we have seen another response. And it
went crazy in a different direction. We had 4 peace accords that were signed recently with the United Arab Emirates, with Bahrain, with Sudan, and with Morocco. And so we're on the right track. I mean, we already have a peace accord with Jordan and with Egypt, that are 2 of our surrounding countries. We still have in the north Lebanon, and in the northeast Syria, and it's a little bit of an issue. But we're trusting that God will provide the proper guidance and make our leaders wise enough to keep us out of the mud.
That's right. So the this is really unheard of. The Abraham Accord. That has happened between these Muslim nations and the nation of Israel. And I'm just wondering, Zvi, why don't we do a helicopter trip over to Dubai? That would be icing on the cake for me. Now that you've been to Dubai.
I don't think so. I don't know if you know it, John, but helicopters are amazing until you end up sitting for a few hours straight in them, and then you feel every one of your joints bouncing around and stuff. But there are other ways to do it.
Okay, well, let's go to
start with a small flight.
Okay. Zvi, of course, the concern now is that there's an alliance, praise the Lord, between Israel and these Arab states, but there's always Iran. And I think the accord is because everyone is united together against Iran, and the Biden administration has promised to reestablish talks and a relationship with Iran, sending them money. Iran is actually requiring, in order to not make nuclear weapons, some type of compensation from the 4 years that Trump made life miserable for them. Are you hearing that too?
We are hearing that too. And the fact that they are demanding, A, does not mean that they're going to get it. And B, if they do get some sort of an accord signed, I am sure that Israel will also be heard in the times of discussing this accord. Okay, we're already past the stage that Iran could do whatever they want and not have to justify anything before anybody. It's not going to happen. Israel is going to try its utmost to prevent Iran from being nuclear. I don't know if most people remember. Some of the people that are listening to us weren't even alive, but in 1981, Israel took out the Iraqi nuclear reactor. And at that moment, everybody chastised us and like slapped us on the hand. Israel, bad boys, Israel, what did you do? But 10 years later, we had the Gulf War. And had we not done it in 1981 and 1991, the US would have encountered a nuclear Iraq. And we don't want something like that to happen. And we're doing our utmost to prevent them. We hope that everybody follows suits. And I don't mind Iran getting nuclear energy if they actually prove to be on the right track. I would much rather see the Irani people getting a big improvement to their life. I think they deserve a good life, and more so they deserve sane leadership.
Right.
So we may get to that, but the military options are on the table all the time. And although we would like for the US to be the one enforcing everything, ultimately, you know, it's if we feel that it is too big of a threat that we cannot deal with, we will deal with it before it becomes a threat.
That's right. Well, Zvi, we're coming close to the time that's allotted to us, but I wanted to get to one question by a good friend of mine. She's the first Peruvian that I ever met. Her name is Thelma Mata, and she has a question concerning the coronavirus. I'll read it for you. She said, I read that Pfizer vaccine in Israel was a secret experiment. It was a report in The Economist. Do you think that this may be true? Have you heard about this?
Listen, first of all, if I'm not mistaken, it's spelled Pfizzer, Pfizer. Yeah, not like that, but I'll share with you. I got my first doses 2.5 weeks ago from Pfizer. My horns are not all that big yet. My nose is not fully its full size. And you saw me moving around, that's because the tail is growing. But seriously, I have not felt a single side effect. We're getting the second doses exactly a week from today. And of course, it's an experiment. And on one hand, people have had to come up with a vaccine for something that has been around a year. And they've had to come up with it very quickly and maybe take some shortcuts. That's on one hand. On the other hand, we're dealing with the same kind of a virus, same type of a virus, same corona-style virus, as is SARS and as is actually the regular influenza flu. So they've done a lot of research, and Israel is leading the world right now in vaccinizing the population. We haven't had any terrible consequences of it. I believe we won't have. You could see an improvement already in the contagious stage of the virus, including the mutations, the South African and the British and the Asian version. And I believe we are on the right track.
Zvi, Ben Nations is asking the question, do Israelis use specifically or solely the Pfizer vaccination?
No, but mostly the Pfizer vaccine. Mm-hmm. It's difficult securing a large amount of vaccines, enough to get the full country done. And of course, Israel has to go to every source that it can. Right. But Pfizer is interesting because the CEO of Pfizer is a descendant of Jews from Saloniki, Greece, that had managed to escape the Holocaust and has a has a warm spot for Israel. Mm-hmm. The chief doctor in charge of research for Moderna is an Israeli, and in AstraZeneca as well, there's a very, very senior Israeli involved. So everybody is wanting to help the poor of your own city first. And so Israel was lucky enough to be allocated a relatively large enough quantity. That's primarily amazing. Pfizer, but also the other companies that I've mentioned. Mm-hmm. And it's allowing us to do something at a rate that people have not done anywhere else before. Mm-hmm. I mean, so we're hoping to have, as you said, the entire population fully covered with the 2 doses by Passover. So here's to that.
Well, that's just amazing, Zvi. You know, there was so much more that I wanted to talk to you about, but our time is coming to a close. We want you to know, Zvi, that we love you as a member of God's chosen people. We love your family, and we are fully supported of you. We will be praying for you, and my hope is that many people might want to get involved with your application and maybe tour Israel, and even using you as a guide once this pandemic lifts. So we want to say thank you, Toda Rabah, and Lord willing, we'll see you in April.